Hello, everybody, and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus, still here, still alive. Happy Halloween 2020. We've made it all the way to Halloween, what's usually my favorite holiday, but not really much of a Halloween happening this time in Los Angeles, I'm afraid. And so for this Halloween video, I wanted to review an article called What Are Ghosts and How Can We Help Them? Posted by the New Spiritual Science webpage. I am highlighting this article because a viewer recommended this article to me because it was being cited by some folks on some website and on some Facebook forum, that is, and basically spreading a whole lot of usual disinformation, misinformation about supernatural subjects. So I wanted to read this article for the first time, offer my analysis, see what's going on here. It's written by an Else Bishkov, an authority on the groundbreaking work of a Martinus, the Danish philosopher, visionary, and mystic. I'm not so sure who that is. LC has written 7 books covering profound aspects of Martinus' worldview. You can find them on this website. Best-selling author about hiking books about Andalusia. Andalusia is a nice place to live. But I'm not so sure about this quote Martinus cosmology. So this is the thing, when you assign a cosmology, a view of the universe, and it's based on just one person's teachings, that's an excellent way to go way off track, especially when dealing with complex metaphysical subjects. So maybe the closest person I give some allowance to is Swedenborg. The people who are really into Swedenborg, they seem to get a lot of stuff accurate that matches up with modern research into these topics. But even Swedenborg, it would be really unwise to subscribe everything to one person. So right away, when you have any website, any organization that has one guru, one mind, one thinker, and they're elevating that person up as the source of all the knowledge, then it's something to be a little bit cautious about. I mean, if in 100 years from now there's a website that covers the teachings and cosmology of Cyrus Kirkpatrick, then I will be from the afterlife trying to shut that website down. However, that is possible to do from the other side. I think it probably is possible if you can find a way to hack into their PHP config file. So anyways, let's take a look at this article. Before we continue, you're watching Afterlife Topics, where we dissect and talk about theories and information concerning worlds beyond this one, supernatural experiences, spiritual experiences, things like that. If you like this kind of thing, then I encourage you to go down and hit that subscribe button, notification bell. And if you are a subscriber already, please ensure that you're still subscribed, because YouTube kicks people off this channel all the time. And in addition to that, if you want to get involved, more work with me, or just support this work while I basically just do all this on my computer, work on books, manage the communities and all that, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/afterlife topics. Or also you can join the private classes and guest interviews this way as well. All right, so to continue, let's look again at this article. And I don't really know what to expect. Maybe it's a great article. Maybe it has compelling, accurate information. But why were people complaining about this and sending it to me to review? Let's find out. What are ghosts and how can we help them? You may have asked yourself many times if ghosts really exist. Most people will say that they don't, and that people who believe they do exist are crazy or misinformed. I don't think so. There's an excellent documentary on Netflix right now. Apparently, it has to do with the ghosts of ghost survivors of the tsunami, of the great tsunami that happened back in, I think it was 2004. And very, very compelling. I think reasonable people consider this information and you don't get called crazy. Same with the UFO subject. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, if you said you believed in UFOs and you were around a group of shallow-minded people, you'd get called crazy. But these days, you can put up a pretty strong argument for a lot of these paratopics. And I mean, unless you're just your social circle is extremely closed-minded, I don't think that you're going to get called crazy. It lines up with so many other things, right? And it can be tackled from a scientific point of view. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked here. Those whose houses are haunted are not in doubt. Ghosts do exist, and they are very annoying. So, what is the truth about ghosts? Are they real or what? Let us have a look at this haunting question. Uh, we are first and foremost spiritual beings, not physical beings. I agree. We always have our spiritual body consisting of I see where this article is going. Oh, geez. Okay. Consisting of a field of energy containing our consciousness, but we do not always have a physical body. It is only when we are incarnated in physical matter that we have a physical body in addition to our spiritual body. So, okay, well, now I know why this article was being suggested for me, because obviously this is what I talk about on this channel a lot. And yeah, this is misinformation. A spiritual body is also an astral body, right? And so the astral body, when you're on the vibration or the frequency that the astral body naturally resides upon, then it's as physical as anything. It's as physical as this world. It's so physical, in fact, that you can be out of your body. And I'm saying this as someone who practices astral projection, out-of-body experiences very, very frequently. It can be so physical that you don't know what world you're in. So you can be out of your body and you can be unsure that you're out of your body, because you can still make a fist, you can still punch things, eat things, lick things if you're so inclined, and you won't actually know the difference until you pause and think, wait a second, where was I 10 minutes ago? I had gone to bed. So where I am right now is obviously this is not where I previously was. So how is that possible in a spiritual body? Because yes, we are all energy. That's true. But that energy can do whatever it wants. Energy becomes matter, matter becomes energy. These are interchangeable forms. And on that side, it's interchangeable again. So physical can become energy, can become non-physical, can become non-solid, and then become solid again in ways that you cannot do here. But it's still matter and energy are the same thing. Einstein proved that matter and energy are basically the same. You can turn matter into energy. That's how atomic bombs are produced. So right away, this sounds a little bit like some kind of fundamentalism, or something that again feels like it's one person's teachings that are being taken completely literally, and that's a problem. So anyway, so when this author is saying we do not always have a physical body, it is only when we are incarnated in physical matter that we have a physical body in addition to our spiritual body. The spiritual body is not just some energy cloud floating around. The spiritual body, your soul, your essence is more than even just an energy cloud. The solar essence is, like, it's the root, it's a programming code that is fundamental to the universe. It takes many shapes, many sizes, many forms. So we can't narrow it down to this. So I have to respectfully just disagree with this author. Okay, let's keep reading this. When we pass over, we pull our spirit body out of the physical body. And then the idea is to pass on to the spiritual plane right away, where you float around as an orbital light, because everyone is made of these energy fields. They have no form and no ability to express themselves physically. So that's, according to this, very dualist approach to the afterlife, that's what you get to look forward to, which doesn't really line up with any near-death, well, not any, but many near-death experiences, almost all spirit communication, almost all out-of-body experiences. And also, there's no citation here. This is just information being presented as fact, and the only citation is whomever this Martinez is, or the Martinez cosmology. I don't know what the hell the Martinez cosmology is. Maybe Martinez is a great writer and is a profound and full of all kinds of philosophical insight. I don't know. I never heard of this person. But you can't just state all these things as fact just because one author, one guru, one person said these things once, and now this becomes your scientific map for understanding extremely complex metaphysical subjects. But most newly deceased will see a bright light and they will feel attracted to it. As soon as they move closer, they'll be sucked up by a strong force and feel like they are passing through a tunnel at the speed of light. Well, this is one aspect of NDEs. Not everyone who has an NDE experiences that. This will take them to their destination in the spiritual world, and all is well. This is what is supposed to happen. And in that spiritual world, it's a solid, real, tangible place. You got your crystal cities and beautiful gardens and cities and deceased loved ones and beautiful plains and vistas and mountains and so many things that NDEers describe. And then you have the more, they got a little more gritty urban environments that OBEers often describe. But still, you have to think about this topic a little bit more multi-dimensionally than this. Again, go back a few videos to where I was talking about dualism. It's the same dualist idea again, that either you're here in this physical world or you're in an exclusively mental world that has nothing in common. With this world, reality doesn't mix and match oil and water. And I don't buy that. You can buy that and it's okay. We're here to debate and discuss these things, but I don't think that that's an accurate way of looking at all this. Okay, to continue. However, in some cases, the spirit stays away from the light. There can be various reasons for that. One reason is that the spirit has died unexpectedly and he or she does not want to pass over so soon. They may think that if they cling on to the physical plane, then they can still have their physical life. They may also be afraid of what awaits them in the spiritual world, so they struggle to keep away from the light. Another reason is that a spirit is very attached to earthly vices such as alcohol or drugs. I think the most common reason is addiction to alcohol. Of course, this is not always the case, as with child ghosts, for example. So there's something that's being left out of this article as well, and it's the fact that many ghosts are not... Okay, there's two elements of the ghost phenomena which are being overlooked here, which can create misinformation, which can create that ghosts that go spook in the night, that go boo at people and that are sort of dehumanized, or that every time you see a ghost, it's this lost soul. And this is the misconception that I've always argued against, because it can really mess up people's perceptions of an afterlife. It can also mess up after-death contact attempts, because you think that Grandpa or Uncle Leroy is hiding in the attic because he's addicted to some vice, and that's why he won't move on and go to the light. And you have to hire some medium at a mere $750 an hour to come into your house and help Leroy go into the light because he's earthbound. Again, a lot of the times is not what's happening. Ghosts can occur from two different phenomena. One is what's called a residual haunting, which experts in the field would describe as it's almost like something has been embedded into the environment, sort of like an akashic imprint of something that happened in history, like we see at Gettysburg, with soldiers still fighting long into the night. These are not haunted souls who refuse to go into the light. This is more like a high energy event has recorded itself, like a camera that records light and keeps the images in motion moving time after time. So it's almost like these are holograms. So it's not souls haunting the battlefield. And number two is that the other side, the astral spectrum, can bleed into this world. So when you see a spirit walk by, they may be walking around in their adjacent world, in the adjacent part of their realm, which matches ours. Now, the reason people like this author may not agree with that is because they wouldn't believe that a spirit could walk around in blue jeans and a white t-shirt, because they're supposed to be formless consciousness fields, made of like prismatic colors and floating around some shimmering landscape. And they don't think that the other side could actually look normal and be a very normal environment, kind of like here. So if you peer into that side, if you see somebody walking around from the astral spectrum, kind of poking their existence into our plane, our dimension, you wouldn't expect them to look like humans. And so they assume that if you see a spirit who looks human, then it must be an earthbound, tortured soul addicted to a vice. Again, hire the medium for $750 to come in and send them into the light. But it's simply not the case. And then, of course, the third possibility is that you have somebody who is actually visiting you from the other side. Uncle Leroy is not hiding in the attic because he's addicted to alcohol. He's trying to come down and say hello to you to let you know that he's still around. He's not a, he's not a ghoul or a phantasm, but still in your life. And instead of being thankful about that, you hire a priest to come and exorcise him away. So that's why this misinformation, and I don't have any fault with this author. Author is probably it's a great website and probably has great books and has interesting stuff, but it's just when dealing with these subjects, it's really important to look at things from a wider perspective on an educational basis. Look at multiple sources, read different books, approach things in a varied way. Don't just use one source of information to get all your data. It's not very scientific. It's not very good for research purposes, because then the misinformation happens. So, and then of course I should say that yes, a spirit, a ghost can hang around because of a vice, just like this lady is saying, because they had such an addiction, for example, to alcohol or drugs. And often I think this has to be combined with a strong disbelief in an afterlife, and so they refuse to settle into the other dimension. They insist to be here, trying to fulfill their vices. Now, something interesting that I've heard from spirit side is that you can drink alcohol on that side, you can take drugs on that side. Lord knows, in my out-of-body trips, I have drank a lot of alcohol and smoked a lot of funny things because I seem to always be in some kind of party environment when I'm on that side. But it doesn't have quite the same physical impact as here. What I mean is, quite frankly, you're taking drugs. It have long term. You feel that sucker in your body. You take alcohol, you feel that sucker in your body. It's not to say you can't become inebriated, but I think that it just doesn't have like that profound physical impact like it does here, even in a negative way. People who are addicts, people addicted, for example, to alcohol, sometimes they're just as much addicted to being effed up by it, like drinking yourself until you pass out, end up passed out on the sidewalk going into Target. And this is the kind of stuff I had to deal with my father, who was a raging alcoholic. And of course that's how my father passed away. He passed away from basically alcohol poisoning. And his addiction, it wasn't just getting drunk, it was the whole spectrum, passing out on the sidewalk. He wanted to fall apart. He wanted to be pathetic and, wake up in a pool of his own piss. And when you're on the other side, I don't think the alcohol is going to do that to you. I think there are certain physical differences where it's, it's not going to have that same impact on your body. And so I think that spirits come to this side and try to catch a wave of this vibration, of this lower density, to try to get that same exact effect that they used to have. And in that sense, yeah, I think that, actual earthbound souls, people who are addicted, that can occur. But just like this author stated, there's so many so-called spirits, who are not like that. Children, for example. So that's not obviously a sweeping explanation for the ghost phenomena. Okay, so the author continues. But when an alcohol addict dies, he is unwilling to go to the light because he knows that there is no alcohol in the spiritual plane. So again, we're going back into dogma fundamentalism. He knows that there is no alcohol on the spirit plane. The spirit plane is a creation of the minds of our earthly plane, and it's built over a template of this world. So everything in this world has a corresponding higher dimensional frequency. So as a world that is built by the minds of people on this planet, built over a template of this planet, it has all the stuff from this planet. So when you go into this afterlife Puritanism, then we're back into ulterior motives, Christian Puritanism, Catholic Puritanism, the idea that anything that isn't of the spirit is filthy and dirty, unclean. I am willing to bet you that this author probably really, really denounces sex, sexual attraction, romantic relationships beyond this world, because it's just going to line up with everything else. And we're back into the agenda-driven afterlife descriptions, which causes so much confusion. Let's continue. So he refuses to go to the light and stays with the physical plane without a physical body of his own. How do you know it's not a physical body of his own? Because Ghost is still walking around in the blue jeans and the white t-shirt. For that so-called ghost, those blue jeans and the white t-shirt and his body and his 12 o'clock shadow, I should say, and whatever, it's as physical as anything here. In such cases, a discarded spirit. Wait, let me back up. This, of course, is not a very enviable situation. There's really nothing you can do on the physical plane when you don't have a physical body, but what you can do, and many spirits of addicts do, is sort of possess a physical body. So I agree that they may do that, but the reason that they can't do anything here without the, quote, physical body is because they're operating in an astral body. If I go out of my body in my astral body and I'm on this plane, this spectrum, it's just like Patrick Swayze in Ghost. I have a hand, I can feel it, I can make a fist, I can crack my knuckles, but my hand passes through objects completely. Now, when you're on the near-Earth astral plane, you can see earthbound spirits and talk to them if you're so inclined, or have unpleasant encounters with them, which I have done. Or also, you will find things lying around on the astral spectrum you can pick up. So, for example, I'll go to the desk on the astral plane. You'll see your glasses lying on the desk, and then you'll notice, well, I can't pick them up because these were the 3D glasses that are really on my desk. But then you'll see this. You'll see this cup, and you'll notice, well, I didn't see this cup on the desk when before I went out of my body. And then you'll notice, whoop, I can pick the cup up, and it's as solid and real as anything because it was an astral cup that somebody left there. So it was matching that plane's physics. So it wasn't it wasn't a 3D cup. It was 4D. It was astral, and so you could then pick it up and touch it. So it's not as simplistic as it's being presented here. So possession is actually possible, but only in special cases. A discarded alcoholic earthbound spirit can actually usurp the body of another alcohol addict. Excuse me. In such cases, the discarnate spirit hangs around cheap bars or pubs, often in shady neighborhoods or near the harbor. I'm on the same page. I know about this phenomena. I've actually seen variations of this phenomena personally, and yeah, this could happen. It is in these places that the possibility of finding an alcohol addict is best. When the alcohol addict has drunk a good deal of alcohol, then his aura weakens, and it is then that the discarnate spirit can enter the body and usurp it. A strong and healthy aura cannot be penetrated by a discarded spirit, but with the intake of large amounts of alcohol, the aura is weakened and the spirit can enter. No, I totally agree with the author. This can happen with cases of really troubled souls who deny that they're dead and they're desperate to get their fix. They can end up, in possessing people, basically. And it's usually some pretty dark souls that are responsible for this type of thing. This is an ideal scenario for the discarnate alcoholic earthbound spirit because now he has access to the alcohol that he misses. He or she, you're not being politically correct. Remember, we have to incorporate either gender. We don't want to mispronoun people, right? It's not just men who are alcoholics. Anyway, he will drink till there is no more money left in the pockets of the now dispossessed man, or till the body passes out from too much alcohol. Then there is no more fun to be had, so the usurping spirit pulls out again and leaves the body. It is then possible for the owner of the body to return and face the music with a colossal hangover, empty pockets, angry wife, hungry children. He will have no recollection of his behavior because he was not in his body. Somebody else was. It's interesting. I definitely think this can happen. Ooh, this article kind of goes on a long ways, doesn't? We'll see how much further we'll go. I mean, I think I might finish a bit earlier. It sometimes happens that a discarnate spirit follows the drinker home and settles down in the house. Various cases of this have been recorded. So This could happen too. But again, it doesn't explain why most spirit ghost encounters, it's a woman in a white dress. It's not Bert from the thirsty clam bar and grill down the street, right? It's it's not just alcoholics we're dealing with. So this explanation doesn't go that far. So it's easy to get rid of them if they're staying out of fear. They soon realize the desperate situation they're in. They really want to pass over to the spiritual plane, but now they cannot do it on their own. Now they need help from a physical being. Now you're going to pay the medium $750 to burn some sage in your home and do some chants to get Uncle Ernie out of the attic. And when they show themselves through smells or apparitions, they're seeking help. They're asking for help, but obviously the physical beings do not know that. They get very scared when they see or hear a ghost. They might not be asking for help. It might be a loved one trying to say hello from the other side. So it's, again, don't mistake after-death communications for a earthbound, tortured spirit. So what can we do when we notice there's a ghost in the house? There's one easy thing that everybody can do. You can tell the ghost that it has been detected, and then you can pray that the guardian angels of the spirit come and pick it up. This is usually enough. You just have to interfere on behalf of the ghost and ask that its guardian angels come and help it. Then happily pass on to the spiritual plane and bother the physical beings no more. Well, there's this thing called free will. You see, if an astral person doesn't want to leave this world and wants to keep prowling around, seeing spirit guardians, it's just going to say F you. It's not going to want to go off with them. Same reason it rejected them in the first place. In cases of hardcore alcohol addictive ghosts, it can be more complicated because they may not want to leave. If you have prayed for them a few times with no result, then it may be necessary to get an exorcist, of course, or somebody who is well versed in the business of getting rid of ghosts. Do they have tricks I do not know of? They do not have tricks you don't know of. A lot of times these are scams, and I'm not saying they're all scams. I'm not saying all them. I'm not saying everyone in these businesses are bloodthirsty and after your money, but there are quite a few who will charge a lot of money to go into your home and get the ghosts out when all along you didn't have a ghost problem to begin with, or you were getting after-death contact visitations from loved ones, and you misinterpreted that, thinking that they were like earthbound spirits because of reading articles like this one. So blah, blah, blah. My husband and I have seen so many ghosts. Blah, 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 blah. Here's a photo of a light artifact in a bedroom, so it must be a ghost. Blah, blah, blah. Once we slept in a former monastery turned a hotel in Spain, not far from Zaragoza. It was the worst night of my life. The ghosts were everywhere, and they knocked and breathed down our necks all night. That sucked. There were so many that they appeared to be having a sort of party because weird, unearthly music was heard. I prayed and prayed, but to no avail, because what is happening is this is astral bleed through. So if you're in a place that has an astral counterpart and they're having a party, then just like a stray radio signal, like you'll get that frequency coming into this frequency, and it's a really wonderful thing. So you could be in an empty room here, and you could have a whiff of perfume because somebody on the astral plane walked by and they had a strong perfume on, or you'll hear the sounds of a party happening because on the astral plane they're having a party right at that exact location at that exact time, and it's a great thing. It could also be residual types of effects, like residual hauntings, but typically that is because of the bleed-through effect. And what good is it going to do praying and praying? So this is the kind of misinformation that I struggle against so much. If you're let's say you're in a medieval Airbnb and late at night you hear partying, but there's no parties happening, or you smell some perfume, you hear footsteps and people talking. This isn't the devil, okay? This is people living their lives on that side. If you went out of body that night, you'd be able to join them in that party. You would appear, you'd still be in that bed and breakfast, except now it's going to be the equivalent of that bed and breakfast on the astral spectrum, and you'll be able to move around that party, meet everybody, be like, hey, I'm actually asleep, I'm on the earth plane, and then you can meet them and learn about them, and then they'll get a kick out of it, and then they'll be happy to have you at the party, and then you can wake back up and it'll be great. You don't have to freak out and begin praying because, oh my God, because that concept you don't believe in, because some guru said that the afterlife doesn't include those things, right? So, dogs freaking out. I wonder if we're going to get trick-or-treaters tonight. I really don't think so, because Halloween was banned in Los Angeles. But usually the dogs bark when the trick-or-treaters come, but who knows? So anyway, let's finish the article by the last paragraph. When you no longer have a physical body, you have no business in the physical plane. Bull, S-H-I-T. For one thing, astral bodies can be all-encompassing. Number two, you absolutely have business if you want to visit friends and loved ones and let them know you're still around. You're not an earthbound soul if you do it. Really, this article is really spreading misinformation. Then you have to pass over to the spiritual plane ASAP. So when you encounter ghosts, please help them make the passage by praying for them. So I hope you guys understand why this kind of stuff frustrates me. Because it's full of misinformation. It's there's no sourcing. Okay, it's not. There's no research involved. There's no multiple areas of information. It's just like the cosmology of some person, and it's kind of like a regurgitation of existing misconceptions, urban legends, misinformation, folklore, religious ideas, Christian/Catholic ideas, all of that, and it it just kind of keeps all these mythologies going, which creates misinterpretations, misinformation, which hurts people's abilities to contact people on that side. It hurts our perceptions of what their lives are like. It blocks us off from being able to have meaningful experiences and connections with our deceased loved ones. And it also limits the afterlife into a very narrow margin, which is ultimately something that has birthed out of theological interpretations of floating around and serving God at the pearly gates for all eternity, and that the afterlife is some variation of that, as opposed to the rich and endlessly diverse multiverse that the so-called afterlife really is. There isn't really an afterlife, and if you guys read my first book, you'll know that was the ending conclusion of my first book, that there is no afterlife. It's a multiverse of different spectrums of reality, just that one we're in right now is especially persistent, and a lot of us are very ignorant about the way it all works, and so we think of it now as this life, then an afterlife. We're in an afterlife right now. The other side is a variation of this world. This world is a variation of that world. It's the way reality works multidimensionally, and if we want to get a better understanding of it, then we have to start thinking of better ideas than the ones that have been kicked around our culture for centuries now and haven't led to any greater understanding of these topics. That's it for my Halloween rant. I hope you liked the rant, and I don't think a video like this is negative. Sometimes people say, Cyrus, why are you so negative? Just post positive things about things you like. But that's not really what I do. I think it's important to critique things when they need to be critiqued so that we can help, again, push things toward a greater educational understanding so that we can have more meaningful experiences with the afterlife, with that side of life, and ultimately get rid of the fear of death and make life more enjoyable, more pleasant, more wonderful by having a clear perspective of what's going on. But don't take my word for it. Work on out-of-body experiences, astral projection states, and spirit communication states, and ask people on that side yourself, as I have hundreds of times, but do it yourself. Ask them about the afterlife. Ask them about articles like this one. Ask them how it all works. and then get those answers yourself from that side. And you won't even need this channel because you'll be able to get information directly from there. Thanks for watching this. You can pick up books of mine like Understanding Life After Death and The Afterlife and Beyond over at afterlifetopics.com. I also do coaching, consultation, Q&A, astral projection guidance, and many more things if you want to help support the channel. And I'm not expensive. Donation prices. Just get in touch with me at the information down below or sign up at the Patreon, where I have unlimited coaching for anybody who joins the $30 level, as well as you get to join the private twice-a-week discussion groups, as well as the guest interviews and all of that. So that's it for this video. Happy Halloween, and stay safe out there, and keep on marching on toward the end of the craziest year of, well, perhaps of most of our lifetimes. We're almost through it, almost to 2021, and I haven't keeled over yet, so that's also progress. All right, talk to you guys next time.